Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Tim with Cereba.ai. In this video, I'm going to walk you through setting up an AI core for a random business that I'm just going to pull off of Google Maps. So we will create the AI's sales process, we will give it a personality, and then we'll also have its own knowledge base, so it's able to handle questions and concerns from your clients. The whole process should take about 15 to 20 minutes to get set up, and we're going to guide you through each of the steps the whole way through. Let's dig in. Let's check it out. So I just found this company right on Google Maps, this Martel Plumbing and Heating. We're going to go ahead and just take their website here and pop it into Cereba. So let's get going. Martel Plumbing and Heating. Okay, cool. So we're just going to take the website in here, and then what's going to happen next is Cereba is going to crawl their website. It's going to build a snapshot of what it can find out about this company online, just from looking at the website. And that's going to create a starting point for all of the rest of the steps in the onboarding process. So our goal at Cereba is to make setting up and creating your AI super simple and straightforward. You don't need to know anything about AI or coding or building complex workflows or anything like that. We guide you through the entire process. So this step right here takes, or I guess this first piece, building the core, takes about 15 to 20 minutes. As far as getting it then connected to high level and doing everything like that, and actually sending messages to your customers, you should be able to do that in about 45 minutes total. So it's a pretty slick and streamlined process to get everything going. So let's see what we found when we did the website crawl. So what this is going to do here is just kind of build you a snapshot or an overview of what the company is, just based on what we found about them. A couple things just to keep in mind, and we cover these on each of the pages. So anytime you have any questions about what's going on the page, you can see it over here in the help text on the right. You just want to make sure here, this isn't a prompt or anything like that. You just want to make sure that the information is accurate, it's up to date. It just covers the essentials, all the stuff that you need to know about your business, right? So you don't have to get comprehensive or complex about your products and services here. Just an overview is fine. So for example, if I needed to make changes here, if I saw this, for example, if it's not perfect, what I want to do is I want to make sure I get this right? So this is 1945. I'm just making something up. Or if the areas that you cover aren't correct in here, right? Located in Lincoln, Rhode Island. I would want to change that to potentially put something else. So just make sure the information that you have in here is correct and accurate, and then you're good to move on. So keep in mind, any of these steps the whole way through, you can always come back and edit these things later. Okay, so let's set up our first campaign. So the great thing about Cereba is that, aside from just answering questions and doing things like that, Cereba isn't just an AI chat, right? It's an AI chat that creates meaningful engagement. So it has core intents that do real things that you need your business to do. Things like updating contacts, things like scheduling appointments, things like rescheduling appointments. So all the things that you would need, a sales development rep to do, Cereba can handle. So that's the AI that you're creating. So for this one, what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through setting up a scheduling AI that will create a qualifying appointment and schedule that to your salesperson's calendar so that they can go out and close the appointment. So I'm going to set up a call with your team to set that up. So let's create our first campaign. Cool. So we'll pick scheduling here as our AI's goal. Next, we will select the type of appointment. So we have 3 types of appointments that you can use for your AI here, for a scheduling AI here. So we cover these on the right here as well. So a qualifying appointment is that introductory call. So essentially, if you think about if you have a new lead that comes in, let's say you do online advertising and you have a new lead that comes in, you might want to schedule a call with a discovery team to, just to see if that deal is going to make sense or if that account's going to make sense. And then you'll schedule an additional sales call, right? So for that you would pick qualifying. So this is going to be the AI setting up that qualifying appointment. If you're setting up a sales consultation, that would be the sales call here, or sales consult here. If you wanted to just have your AI book directly to your salesperson's calendar, you can do that. Or if you're setting up a service, where it's just going to be like if you, let's say, are using Cereba to handle ongoing services for your clients, you can set up a service appointment here as well. So let's do qualifying for this point. We're just going to set up a phone call. All right, so next, how will the appointment take place? So there's a few different methods for the appointment. We have in-person, over the phone, or a virtual or Zoom call, so you'll choose that here. Pretty straightforward. So for this one, we're setting up a discovery call. We're going to do just phone call. All right, and then we have describe the appointment. So here we just want to put, I guess, give a little bit of context into how these appointments usually go, right? So this is the actual appointment that you're setting up. So for this one, we're setting up a phone call. During the phone call, we'll review, what is it, plumbing and heating, right? So during the phone call, we'll see what issues they're having with their HVAC system and schedule another time to have a professional go out. There we go. How's that? Cool. And again, this isn't a prompt, right? This is just adding some context to what's happening. So we'll continue. Okay, so now we move on to another section here called engagement questions. So if we think about how an AI chat, how AI chats have typically been set up over the last several years is, if you think about companies that have chat systems set up, you would say like, oh, hey, how's everything going? And they would essentially always be like, is there anything else I can assist you with? Is there anything else I can assist you with, right? So the AI has not historically been driving the conversation. But if you had a real person handling the chat or handling that phone call, they're always going to steer the conversation towards the goal of scheduling an appointment. And that's what Cereba does. Cereba is driving those clients towards the goal. One of the ways that we do that is by using engagement questions to drive the conversation. Engagement questions are questions that the AI asks in order to take control of the conversation and then drive the prospect towards the goal. So what we're doing here is we give you a starting point for engagement questions that you can ask, or that your AI will ask the clients. And then you can look at these and say, hey, do these make sense or do these not make sense? And then decide, hey, this is something I'm gonna use or what. So we give you up to 5 here in the onboarding piece. You could have just a few, you could have more than 5. It depends on what how complex your business model is or how complex these conversations are going to be. Keep in mind, these aren't questions that will always be asked. These are just questions where, depending on how the conversation is going, it's going to use the question that's the most relevant for the situation, right? So let's take a look at some of these and we'll see if it's something that makes sense, right? So are you interested in any financing options for your service? So that's probably not something that I would say. So in that case, we can change these out. I'm just looking at some of these other ones. An engagement question, might be, how old is your current HVAC system? HVAC system is probably not the word, but when's the last time you had your system serviced? Maybe might be another one. This is a good one, right? What type of heating system do you currently have? You've had your heating system serviced. Cool, awesome. So let's, nice. Now when we're happy with these, we can move on to the next step. Again, we can always change these later on, right? So we don't have to feel like we need to invest a ton of time into each of these steps. Let's get something that we feel sounds right, and then we can make tweaks whenever we're testing our AI later on. All right, so we have engagement questions. Those are questions that the AI will use to help drive the conversation forward, drive the conversation towards that goal. We also have qualifying questions. Now, these are optional, but these are qualifiers that, in terms of keeping your lead quality high, right? Your appointment quality high, you'll qualify an appointment before actually, putting it on the calendar. So these are questions that your AI has to ask before it will schedule the appointment. Now, the way that it works is these qualifying questions will be asked once the prospect agrees to a time. So, for example, let's say we're like, hey, let's schedule an appointment for 4 o'clock tomorrow. Your AI will go and it'll check to see if it has appointments that are available at 4 o'clock. If it does, it'll say something along the lines of, great, just to confirm that appointment for tomorrow at 4, let me just ask you a couple questions. And then it'll walk through how these qualifying questions work. So again, you don't need these. I'm just going to put in here one for an example. And then I'm just going to say, do you own your home? Right? So it needs to be a homeowner to move on through that step. And then this question will be asked before it schedules the appointment. Okay. And then finally, we have a couple scale points here. We have scheduling readiness and we have conversation steering. So again, your AI is driving prospects down a funnel, down a path to schedule appointments. And we're kind of walking, or I guess everybody would be walking this line, or trying to walk this line of, we obviously want to book the appointment, but we also want to book the, high quality appointments. And there's going to be this middle ground that we need to find where we want to make sure that we're maintaining quality as we're booking more appointments. So scheduling readiness basically it controls how much engagement you should receive from the end user, from the contact, before the AI will attempt to schedule the call. So if someone says, hey, let me get on a call with you, it's going to recognize the scheduling intent, and it's going to schedule the call. But as it's asking these engagement questions, as it's talking to the client, this is a scale that's going to control it's going to control how long it should wait before it says, hey, let me ask that. Whether that's after a couple questions, whether it gets through all of your engagement questions, whether it waits for scheduling intent before trying to schedule. So we recommend somewhere right in the middle here with this, and then depending on what you're seeing with your testing and your chats and your appointments, maybe you want to pull it down a little bit, maybe you want to pull it up a little bit, depending on your quality and the appointments that you're setting. So we'll keep that in the middle there, just because that's a recommended spot. And then we have conversation steering. So we talked about the engagement questions. The way that conversation steering works is you have those engagement questions. How much control do I want the AI to have over the conversation? How often do I want the AI to steer the conversation towards the goal? So I'll give you an example of a question that someone might ask. They might say, how much does it cost? Just as a simple question. If someone asks you how much it costs, the AI will answer however you want them to answer that question. Depends on what services that you go with and so on. Typically, it will respond with an engagement question. It will say, how old is your current heating system, right? So it'll answer the question and then say, how old is your current heating system? Because it's using that engagement question to take control over the conversation, take power back, and then it will continue down the funnel, right? So after I get an answer from you saying, oh, my system's about 10 years old, it says, great, let me set up a time for you to do this, right? So it takes control over the conversation and drives it forward. Again, this is something that we recommend just keeping in the middle. It's going to be one of those where, depending on your business, depending on what you're doing, you'll want to, do some testing and see which direction makes the most sense for you. As you get further down here, right, we'll never steer the conversation. That means if someone asks a question, then it's just going to say, how much is it? It really depends on the products and services that you use. And then maybe it says, do you have any other questions before we move forward or anything like that? It'll kind of be more customer service centric. If you go all the way over, every time someone asks something, it's going to try to drive towards that goal. So that's why it's nice to find a little sweet spot here in the middle. For this one, let's jump it up one more for an example. So it's more often going to ask for those questions, just so we can use this as a test here, and then we can continue. And again, you can edit all of these later on. Great. So now we've completed the sales now we've completed the sales process aspect of your AI core. So the AI core has three main pieces. It has the sales process, it has the personality, and then it has the knowledge base. So now we're going to move on to the personality piece. This is a conversation with your AI to build the personality, right? So they know we're John Smith that we set up. We need to name our AI now. I'll kind of, I guess, paraphrase some of these as we're setting this part up, and then we'll go through it together. So we're going to name, what's the name of the company? Martel. We're going to name the AI Marty. Great. Apparently Marty's a great name. Cool. So then at this point, we're just going to have a conversation with the AI. We're going to go through each of our personality traits. We have an 8-point personality scale that we have an 8-point scale that allows you to customize how your AI personality, how your AI acts in responding to some of these messages, or all the messages with customers. Okay, so what this will do is, our first, so our first point here is enthusiasm. So how enthusiastic should the AI be whenever we're responding to customers? Depending on the industry, it's going to depend on, or it's going to change a little bit. You might be a little more enthusiastic if you are one company versus being a law office or being a dentist or something like that. Might be more common professional. So you're just going to find whatever sounds best for you. I'm just going to make one up here that I think works well, but it's or that I think sounds good. So it gives you a question example, and then all of these are examples of how the AI might respond to each of these if it had that point. So let's do very enthusiastic. I'll just put 4 here for very enthusiastic. And again, there's plenty of tips on the right where you can get some information about what's done here. If you need questions about this specific step, you can also just ask the AI. So if you want different examples or anything like that, you can get some different examples. So the next piece here is the formality, right? So this is another one of those examples where one company might be more formal or less formal than another one. I would say for a this type of company, I'd be something a little more conversational. So I'm going to use conversational here. But then again, maybe you want to be professional whenever you're talking to your customers. Maybe that's what sets you apart from some of your competitors out there, is that you keep things a little more professional or a little more formal, and maybe your audience and your customers appreciate that. So you have the control. All right. And then this next one here, we have the complexity. So this is really going to come down to how complex your answers are going to be. How much is it something where you want to get into the weeds with some of these, or are you going to simplify the answers, right? So from your perspective, it'll depend on how much your customers probably know about your product typically, or if it's something that they're not very aware of, how much should they know about on the front end. For this, let's be pretty detailed, just in case maybe they've done a little bit of work on their side, the customers, a little bit of troubleshooting on their side, and now they need a little more detail in the response. Okay, so the next one here is conciseness, right? So we're detailed in the explanations, but we're concise in the responses. So it can either be very verbose and very explanatory, or we can be a little more concise in the responses. And keep in mind, all of these are going to work together in the end to build the personality of the AI. So let's be somewhat verbose to match the detailed option that we just kind of picked there. All right, cool. How direct or indirect should we be? Is it something where if someone has an issue or it has this question, do we tell them like it is, or is it something where we're more like, it might be this, it really depends on this? Are we going to be more indirect or direct? Since we're not really sure about what this, in this case, let's be somewhat indirect. We don't want to tell them for sure that's 100% what it is. You definitely replace your boiler, right? We want to be more, customer service centric, somewhat indirect on that piece, and we'll try that out. Okay, perfect. So this is just a fun one here. How often, if ever, do you want to use things like puns whenever people bring up puns. Some people like them. I hate puns, personally. I mean, I don't hate puns. I hate puns in the professional setting, I guess. But you have the option, I guess, to whether that's something that you want to do. I'm going to say never. And we're just going to get rid of it altogether. So maybe you're more fun than me. Maybe that's why you like puns, but I'm going to say never. And then the next one here is similar. It's about emojis. How often do you want to use emojis? Do you want to use them all the time in your messages? Do you want to use them sometimes, or do you not want to use emojis? I think emojis are okay. I don't like to use them all the time, but I'm going to say sometimes, just to keep it simple. So we'll have a little bit of fun, not too much fun. Okay, and then we can also control how transparent the AI should be when people have questions. So this is really on you, right? Do you want people to know that your AI is AI powered? Do you want them to only bring it up whenever somebody asks? How do you want to handle that? It's your choice. So for this one, we will, if someone asks, we'll tell them that we're AI powered. So, hey, are you an AI? I absolutely am an AI. Right? I'm not. Anyway. Okay, perfect. So at this point, we now completed the AI personality. It is building that personality in the back end of the system, and then it's going to take that personality and it's going to inject it into each of the steps that we have moving forward. So when I click continue here, the next thing we're going to do is begin creating the knowledge base. So the knowledge base is the place where you're able to add in specific answers to questions that your customers ask or that your contacts ask. So what we're doing at this point is we are using AI to generate a starting point for you. So we're getting all of the stuff that we previously created. So we know this is your industry. These are questions someone might ask when communicating with someone in your industry. These are questions that are related or may be related to your company. And then we're trying our best to also provide you with some baseline answers to these questions as a starting point as well. Because what you don't want is for your you don't want your AI to just make up answers, and you also don't want your AI to just always be like, I don't know, right? I don't know the answer, and you also don't want it to always say schedule a call, schedule a call, schedule a call. So this helps to kind of bridge that gap between what your AI thinks it knows and what your AI should know, and then it also allows you to keep everything up to date as your company grows and expands and your customers continue to ask new questions. So let's get into it and see what the system created for us. I'm not going to dig into all of these, but I'll dig into some of them, right? So, one thing to note, these are not canned responses, right? So these answers here, they're answered in the personality of the AI that you just created. As an example of what a response might look like, obviously the response is going to be contextual every time. So whenever it actually communicates when they're communicating with the actual contact, the responses will be a little bit different. So the number one thing that you want to do here is just make sure that the answers that you're providing are accurate, right? Are they correct? Can you explain the process for replacing an old heater or air conditioner? Unfortunately, I don't know what that process looks like. So I can't say whether or not this is how someone would want to answer that. So let's kind of dig through some of these. For example, so how long does a typical repair job take? So duration varies depending on complexity, but we always aim to complete repairs efficiently without compromising on quality. So for this one, for example, maybe we want to provide them with a time frame, right? But we always we always schedule appointments within one day, for example, and complete the agreed upon job within 48 hours. I'm just making something up. So, but that's a place where we could kind of add some brand stuff. We could add some stuff that sets us apart in our answers, but stuff that's also accurate and correct for us, right? Here's another good example. What brands or types of equipment do you typically recommend? So if they're talking about, let's say they do mini splits, for example, and people are wondering if they use Mitsubishi mini splits or what have you, they can just, close this out and say we use Mitsubishi Is that how you spell that? Oh, goodness. There we go. Yeah, we use Mitsubishi mini split systems. Right? So there we can put that in. Do you have any special offers or discounts available? So here's where this is going to come into play, right? So we have our FAQs. So these are questions and answers. But sometimes people ask a question where, in sales, you look at that question as whether it's a buying question or a specific question that's, you're thinking to yourself, hey, there's buying intent behind that. I want to schedule a call now. So what you can do is that's what this redirect checkbox is for. What this redirect checkbox does is it lets your AI know anytime I see this question, I am going to treat it as scheduling intent and I'm going to redirect to the team. So if it sees a question, for example, in this case, you have your special offers or discounts available. I mean, that's clearly buying intent, right? So it's going to say something like, that's a great question. Let's set up a time with our team. Do you have some time in the next couple of days? Something along those lines to look to schedule the appointment. All right. Cool. So just looking through some more of these, we can change any of them, right? We can change the question if we want to change the question. We can say, how often do I need to replace? Or how long is our mini splits? I don't know why I'm going so deep into mini splits. Typically good for. And then I can say, they can last. They are warranted, for 10 years, period. Maybe that's all I'm going to say. They're warranted for 10 years. And then, so then I can also delete questions that aren't relevant, right? So, if I want to just delete this, boom, delete this. Can you help with the installation of a new heating system? Delete that. These aren't important. So I can have up to 15 in my knowledge base here. Cool. So now we can go ahead and, once we're happy with these, right? Again, these can all be edited later. So we want to make sure we can get accurate answers in each of these, but we can continue to come back and add to the knowledge base or take things out that aren't relevant and swap them out with things that are at any time in the future. So let's move on to our next step here. The next step is company insights, right? So you have your knowledge base, which is when someone asks a question, it needs to know how it should handle that question, whether it treats it as scheduling intent or whether it should, whether it has an answer, whether it should redirect, and so on. Company insights are kind of those things that, when you have, if you have someone on your team, maybe you think of these as credibility questions. These are things that people should just know, right? So these are things that you can add in here that you should expect your AI to just kind of know, just in case someone asks one of these questions. They can kind of sprinkle it in, and that's how it'll treat these as well. It won't just if someone asks a question like how many customers do you have, obviously this will come through and it'll let them know how many customers it has, but it's also able to just sprinkle these in where it makes the most sense. So we have some examples in here just to give an example of how these would work. So we put example on them just to remind you to swap them out because these aren't necessarily relevant for you. But for example, you can say our business hours are Monday through Friday, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Right, so this is where you can kind of sprinkle in this kind of stuff. Put that in there. Let's add another one. What's another good one? Oh, we already have that information. All right, we'll use that for example, and we'll pop in one more here. We're most well known for our mini split bundle package. So, yeah, that's just some examples of things that are popped in that you can pop into your company insights there. Cool. And then here's some other examples of some things that can be helpful for for adding in here. Awards and recognition, special unique offers. That's why I was trying to come up with something that would be unique to put in there around that mini split thing, but I'm just like, oh, mini split bundle package. That's so unique and cool. So you can add those kind of those type of things in there when that you can think of. And again, you can add these later on as well as they come up. Cool. So at this point, we are almost wrapped up with the AI core. So at this point, it's going to kind of finalize everything and put everything together and package it up so that you can use your AI with Cereba and with High Level. So we give you full access to the entire platform for 14 days. You can connect it to your Go High Level account, and you can send messages to your customers. So at this point, we just completed creating the AI core. The next step is for you to connect it to High Level. So hope this was helpful. I'll go through connecting to High Level and all of that good stuff in another video. Feel free to reach out with any questions, contact support, contact me. Yeah, we're here to help. And I wish you guys the best of luck with your AI chat. And I hope it drives a lot of opportunities and new revenue opportunities for you. So that's it.